Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Andrea Rinkus. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you. Everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
And whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Even better, all of our guests are local small business owners who you can actually talk to and work with. You can learn more about today's guest and connect with hundreds of other health and wellness professionals through our informative and easy-to-use directory at motherhoodalliance.com.
Before we get started, keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for personal healthcare advice. Please consult your healthcare provider before making any changes based on the podcast content.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Are you ready to help your family thrive? Let's get started. Hi, we are Britt and Andrea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a 4-episode series with Elisabeth Potaczek, the owner of Soul Echo Yoga based in Appleton, Wisconsin. Elisabeth brings a truly holistic approach to everything she teaches by blending her backgrounds in yoga, massage, and functional personal training to create classes that are unique and have intention behind every movement. Her specialties include functional yoga, meditation, yoga nidra, and pre- and postnatal yoga, all grounded in the belief that mindful movement is one of the best ways to take care of your body and mind. Whether you would consider yourself a yogi or not, we believe that you'll learn a lot in these episodes as we discuss the history of yoga, styles, myths, and numerous benefits of yoga. When she's not teaching, you'll likely find Elisabeth hiking, strength training, reading a good book, cozying up with her 2 rescue cats, Olive and Remy, or joyfully preparing for a baby in early 2026 with her husband. Okay, it's time for you to meet Elisabeth. Hello, welcome back. We are excited to be back in episode number 3 with Elisabeth, and today we're going to be talking about the countless benefits of yoga. Now, if you're like, well, I've done yoga, it's not really my thing, I would encourage you to keep this rolling because I think you're going to learn a lot in this episode.
And listen to the last couple because we've had some really good discussions on this stuff.
Who would have thought you could have 4 completely different episodes about yoga? But here we are, and I feel like we could have 4 more.
There's plenty to get deep into, right? Just a lot of topics,
That's why yoga has been the one constant in my life for the last 25 years. And I don't see myself stopping anytime soon because, it's an ocean of knowledge and I know like a little shot glass of it.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Well, let's start in on what you do know about the benefits of yoga. And so let's start with the physical side. That, like you said, with the Western world, we've really honed in on the physical side of yoga. So like the benefits of strength training are kind of easy to understand, right? But why should someone make time for yoga? What are the physical benefits?
Yeah. So, I love these questions. Physical benefits of practicing yoga, you're going to have improved flexibility. That's kind of like the obvious one. Like you're going to be able to stretch a lot easier and further. You're going to build strength as well. It's not the same as strength training, but it does have that strength building aspect. It's going to support your mobility, that being able to move your shoulders and your hips, your ball and socket joints, keeping your knees hinging and your elbows hinging and your wrists and ankles moving. It's going to also, if you do a more vigorous practice, can be cardio related. So it's that's why there's so many different styles of yoga because there's so many different benefits to yoga, but also kind of like with Pilates, your posture, you're going to stand up straighter, you're going to sit up straighter and be able to balance a lot better as well. So like we're working your core. You might, it's coming up to winter. You might slip on the ice if you have a good core and good strength and good mobility. Hopefully you can catch yourself before you fall. That's kind of like the one thing.
When you're talking like flexibility, mobility, I always think I think people think so much of like today or like just right now, but you think if you continue this yoga practice, continue strength training, all the benefits that have to do with like, especially yoga, your future as an older person, you're going to thank your younger self because you can't, the older you get, you're not going to have as much ability to be as flexible or as mobile or as balanced.
It's like my French major that I don't use at all. Like I I can understand some. I can speak very little.
Yeah.
I can read it most of the time, but because I don't use it, it's just kind of like off in the back of my brain.
Yeah.
Whereas like, and I know like currently in where I'm at in life right now, I'm kind of doing a rotation of exercises, but I have done phases of only doing yoga. Like I did a 108-day challenge with Travis Elliott online, and I only did, I was seeing my personal trainer at the time too. So like one day a week, I would see her once every other week, but I did yoga almost every other day if I wasn't resting. And that, like, because you can practice it every day and it's meant to practice every day, then like it's crazy what it can do for your body. But if you only have one day a week to do it, that's just as good, so it's I just think it's wild.
Well, and also, I mean, you think too, if somebody is a runner, we've dealt with runners, and we are that too.
Recovering endurance athletes.
Yes, we are recovering endurance athletes wiser, right? But the thing is like, I know with a lot of runners or triathletes or whatever, they get so into their sport, but they don't think about how yoga, or rest days too, but yoga will really help benefit their running game. Like they will be faster, they'll be stronger as a runner if they have this kind of, yoga as part of their training schedule.
Well, in my first yogi that I really connected deeply with was Baron Baptiste. And he used to be on staff for I want to say it was the Philadelphia Eagles football team. His parents were both yogis, or like the studio I taught at in De Pere with Ryan. She works with a lot of the Packers. She wrote a book, Yoga for Athletes. So you can, you pick up the book, look at the sport. Here are some stretches that are going to really benefit you. So it can get very specific, but it doesn't need to.
I agree.
When I think about just the average American, like even if I just look at within our own household, like my husband, he's a financial advisor. So like he works at a desk a lot, right? And so his shoulders and his neck have so much tension because he's so busy that he forgets to take breaks. And we talk about this, but like in everyday life, what type of movement is going to benefit him best? What type of movement is going to benefit me best, right? When I do a lot of computer work, right? And our history is in fitness, but I spend a lot of time sitting. And so as you're talking through those things, I'm like, if somebody were to start, if they're doing nothing right now for carving out time for fitness, if they were to start with one thing, I would say it should be yoga, because it's going to be working those muscles. Like you said, it's going to be starting to give you those strength and those cardio aspects from maybe a more gentle level. But the amount that our bodies are stiff right now, especially with our foods, we could get into whole other topics on inflammation and all this other stuff. But what adult out there does not have a complaint of some sort of stiffness these days?
Right. Especially in the same parts too. The back, the hamstrings, the glute, all these things are weak and they're just not working.
Yeah. And you had mentioned in our prior episode the benefits of yoga for your fascia too. Can you share a little bit about what is fascia and then how does yoga benefit it?
Yeah, absolutely. So being a former massage therapist too, I really love
let's
fascia.
Get nerdy. Let's do it.
Because I'm also a recovering endurance athlete. And when I went to massage school, they were like, fascia doesn't stretch. And I was like, I know. Why is everybody telling me to foam roll my IT band? Because it hurts. Yeah. If you've done it, you know how bad it hurts. So that's when you hop in the hot tub or slap a hot washcloth on your IT band. And then maybe you foam roll it, but maybe you just give it a little stretch. And that's where yin yoga or restorative yoga comes in really nicely. So regular yoga, you're going to activate your muscles. You're going to stretch your biceps, your hamstrings, your back. But that fascia needs at least 90 seconds to soften and to start for your nervous system to be like, oh, okay, now we can settle. Now we can get into that, like that Achilles, the chest is so tight. And yin yoga, you hold for at least 90 seconds, if you up to 5 minutes, like pigeon pose for your hips for 5 minutes on each hip, you will walk out a new person. Because when you hold that pose, all of that blood flow is getting into that hip. Your nervous system softens. It allows the muscles around the hip to soften. And then that blood flow gets into the fascia and allows the fascia to start to regenerate. Like, so I mentioned Travis in a couple episodes, Interdimension TV. He got hit by a car, and that's when he found yin yoga. And he was like a couple weeks back teaching full time because he took the time to take care of his body the way it needed to be taken care of.
Your body, well, and he was teaching yoga before that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he had been practicing that and, training his body, and to then be able to know that he needed the rest and letting his body heal itself with all that extra blood flow and everything else, and to be able to go back.
Yoga's magic.
Yeah.
Yoga is the fountain of youth.
Yeah, I feel like every single adult, every person, every teenager, but every adult, gosh, if they just incorporated 2 days a week of 20 minutes of yoga and, they could focus on what specifically they feel like they need, they could feel so much better in their body.
And I love how the yoga world is evolving because there's so many videos. Like my husband works at a computer as well. Like there's 10-minute like office yoga or desk or chair yoga stretches for the desk jockeys out there. Like there are things that you can just do at your desk if you need a little break. Like
we need balance, right? So if we're leaning forward and slumped, we need to have that counterbalance of stretching out the chest, things like that. That's so important. So one thing you said, and I know we've touched on this in previous episodes too, about the time. So somebody might be like, okay, I love the idea of stretching out my fascia and getting more blood flow, but I cannot fathom sitting in one position for 2.5 minutes or whatever it is, like 90 seconds or like 5 minutes. That seems like a lot. What would be your reaction to that? Or how do you think you could encourage somebody with not only the knowledge of what they're doing for themselves, but how would you encourage them?
It is a perfect segue into the mental benefits of yoga.
Okay, let's talk about that. That's beautiful.
Because that literally becomes, that is no longer a physical issue. That becomes like, where is my brain?
Yes.
Because a lot of times when you're uncomfortable, your brain fights it, tells you no, no, no. And I always tell people, like, when I was personal training, like, if you don't feel like working out, just start. Just do it for 5 or 10 minutes. And after 5 or 10 minutes, if you feel like quitting, quit. Do you know, obviously 99% of the time they get going, they're like, I feel great. I'm going to keep, I'm going to do my 30 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
So that really, like, it's so easy to hit the snooze button or to, do the dishes or the laundry or whatever the to-do list is calling you to do. And it's that mental discipline of making that choice of, I'm going to just sit and breathe for 5 minutes, or I'm going to just do some ankle circles or wrist circles while I wait for my latte I do tree pose at the grocery store if I'm standing in line because I don't self-checkout, so like I'll just, but the mental benefits of yoga. So we reduce stress and help balance emotions when we take the time to, move our body and connect in that way that yoga does with the body and the mind. It helps. We were just talking off the mic about some anxiety. So it can help alleviate anxiety and depression because it gets those good hormones flowing. You're doing something good for yourself. You're getting out of your routine. That helps with like breath and mindfulness. We talked about like just being in the moment and paying attention to your breath. And then it strengthens your focus. So who isn't like totally ADD right now, like with how fast information is coming at us and how short clips are on social media. I even find myself reading, as I was researching some of the stuff for these podcasts, like I can read a couple paragraphs and then I take a break and go and do something else and come back to it. And that's, it's not optimal, but it's where we're at.
Well, yoga is a practice. You literally, and you can think of this as literally practicing slowing down and training your brain to be more focused on something for longer and getting more comfortable with that. It's a practice. Because for me, it would be definitely a practice.
Yeah, I have a question to circle back to everything that you've kind of been explaining is that piece that you said of our brains, like if you're sitting in a pose and it's uncomfortable for you, but it's fine. Like you should be working through it because it's good for you. Right,
it's
exactly.
just uncomfortable, yeah.
But your brain is telling you, no, get out, ouch, get out, right?
Mm-hmm.
My question is, so like my husband, I know what he would do. He would put in a podcast so that his brain is distracted, so that he's not thinking about the pain of that specific pose and he can finish it and work through it. That is not bringing him toward that practice of being able to strengthen the muscle of being peaceful, but it's also allowing him to experience the physical benefit in maybe a longer time frame than he would have if he wasn't. So how can you kind of like balance this, and can you get those mental benefits even if your brain is busy, or is the mental benefits really coming from the slowing down and shutting off the world?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
The latter, definitely the latter. So that self-awareness only comes from that stillness, so like when I was kind of recovering from being an endurance athlete, the whole, like, if you listen to when your body whispers, you won't have to hear it scream. Like just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really hard pill for me to swallow. And so my suggestion would be to find a teacher or a program that you feel comfortable enough with, where it's that silence or that holding or that physical discomfort is taken care of in that session. So I started with Baron Baptiste and his cueing and how he helped you through those things. Like, because there's, like a good instructor will allow you some space and time in an uncomfortable pose and give you the mental distraction you need and the option. So just like giving physical modifications for poses, a good instructor will allow space and time for you to process and potentially give you some cues to help you deal with that,
I love that.
mental and physical discomfort.
And you don't have to start with 2 minutes or 5 minutes of a pose. You could start with 15 seconds, 30 seconds and build, I would think,
Yeah, it's
a practice.
And I know in our next episode, we're going to be breaking down some pieces that you talk about. So like 5 holistic yoga practices. So we are going to be breaking that down in the next episode, but I know one of those I want to touch here on is the breath piece. Because as you're holding a pose or you're feeling that discomfort, but it's so good for you, the breathing piece is going to be critical in helping you relax your body and your mind.
Yes.
Right? Because oftentimes when we're in a pose that is slightly uncomfortable, our muscles all around that area are tightened. They're not releasing, and then we're actually not letting that to release. We're not like allowing it to just melt, right? And so this is actually pretty deep, isn't it? Like there's so much actually going on here. So I want to save some of that breathwork conversation for the next episode, but can you kind of define what is a yoga breath? Because I've heard that in yoga classes. And then like how is it different?
Yeah. So my personal journey with this was when I was a triathlete, when I did my 1 sprint distance triathlete. I'm not a swimmer. It was my hardest thing. So I took about 16 classes with the gym that I worked at. And you cannot yoga breathe in the pool.
You tried?
You will. I mean, I never float. I never floated and I never learned how to float. And so the yoga breathing is your worst enemy in the water. You need to hold air in your lungs, obviously, when you're trying to float. So that was a whole, because I was trying to relax myself in the water. And so I was trying to yoga breathe, and
that's not going to work for you.
Okay. So what is actually yoga breathing?
Yeah. So, and that's how I start all my classes, and if you go to a class and they don't start this way, that's fine. But we are so distracted and so busy. And when you show up at your yoga class, you need to settle down from your day.
For sure.
And you need to make that connection. And so like I've taken, so in yoga, we call breathwork pranayama. Prana is the breath. And it's, like if you didn't have eyes, you can still function. If you can't smell, you still function. If you can't speak, you can still function. If you can't hear, you can still function. If you're not breathing, you're dead. Like you can go without food, you can go without water. You cannot go without air. So breath is life. And most of us don't, fully breathe. And in yoga, we work with a 3-part breath. So we breathe in through the nose, through the sinus cavity, down the throat. We fill up not just the chest, but the lungs 360. And that's really important as personal trainers.
Yes.
And then down into the belly, and not just the belly, the side body, the lower back. And the poses help you get into different parts of that. But if you can't connect with that, your class is just not going to be optimal.
Yeah, you won't get into it. Like maybe at the end you might feel a little benefit, but it would take forever.
I almost feel like you need a intro class to the beginner yoga series where it's like teaching them how to do this, like how to breathe.
Yeah, that takes that takes some very intentional,
and it's uncomfortable.
It is, yeah, especially for some people who are belly breathers or who breathe through their shoulders, like to fill up your entire
or to retain
ribs.
Your breath. Like some of the breathwork practices are just so uncomfortable because it's you get like in your head about it. And you're like, oh God, So we can talk about that.
I know. I kind of want to do a whole other episode on that.
Yeah,
Goodness.
Yes.
We will discuss it more in the next episode. But before we close this one out, I do want to also talk about the social aspect and the social benefits of yoga. What would you share about that?
I love my yoga practice at home. However, there's something to be said for showing up to a center, a space, a studio, and practicing with other people. And honestly, that's my favorite part about teaching is watching my students connect to each other and just learn about each other and ask questions about their lives. And it's just really special having that social network of people who feel like they belong, they're included. And wherever you are on your yoga journey, you're welcome in our space.
Let's dive into that social benefits a little bit more. So what long-term benefits are there socially? Yeah,
just that community. Given the time that we live in right now, I feel like it's easy to feel divided or separate. And what I really love about yoga is that it means to unite people, not just your body and your mind, but to make that connection with someone else and to know that you have a safe space. The true magic of yoga is transformation. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with the community that you build and the community that you're opening up to.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about how in this world we're just we all have like squirrel syndrome. Things are moving so fast. We're always so distracted. And we are shoulder to shoulder with a lot of people in fun ways and busy ways. Like you can go to concerts with people or you bring your families together and it's like this beautiful chaos. But how often are we actually shoulder to shoulder in peacefulness with other humans?
In that deep rooted connection of, wow, this is powerful. And thank you for sharing space. Like that's it. There's a lot to be said for how that makes people feel.
That's wonderful. I want to circle back to talking about Soul Echo Yoga, though, one more time with your business, because I know you do a lot of community service in our area. Can you share why that's important to you and then maybe a little bit about where people would find you doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my business partners, Savi and Mark, when we decided to have Being Collective and join our entities, mental health was one of the biggest things about why we wanted to create a space for people in Appleton area. So we chose a couple of different local organizations. I was introduced to NAMI from a mutual friend who did some fundraising for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And we luckily have a chapter here in Appleton. So every other month I go there and do a class for their volunteers. I really love what they offer the community. They have free classes. They have a peer-to-peer class. They have like for family support. So where you just learn about mental illness and how you can find resources, or they talk about the physical aspects of like taking care of yourself and different things. So the structure that they have at NAMI is really phenomenal. We also help out prevent suicide Fox Cities. Cindy Refke, who heads that up here in Appleton, she just does a super job getting out in the community, making that aware, taking that stigma down. And then the other organization that we do a little help with is the Foxvale Humane Association. I do, again, a class for their volunteers. And then we had kitten yoga in August at the space. And it was so fun. All the kittens got adopted.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So, I mean, who doesn't love baby animals?
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, thank you for serving in our community. I think that's just amazing, and that you're focusing in on areas that just mean so much to you guys. So I do want to mention for those of you who are listening that Elisabeth has offered a free class when you mention that you heard about her through this episode and you share one thing that you learned, which is super fun. And we have one more episode coming up, you guys. If you've not listened to our prior ones, goodness, these have been such great conversations. Make sure that you go back and do. But for our last episode, we're going to be talking about holistic yoga, functional yoga. We've been hinting toward these like 8 pillars or 10 commandments, Elisabeth called them. We've also been hinting toward her 5 holistic yoga practices to reset and reconnect. And so we're going to be breaking those down in this next episode. So this is going to be a great one coming up next. If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time, and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.